tang of blood. Andrea Kaufmann, the widow, stood on the deck, looking out at the waves. He was a difficult man, she told Charlie, her voice trembling but her eyes strangely cold. But he was my husband. Sarah knelt by the body, her movements clinical but respectful. Charlie, look at his wrist. There's a distinct tan line. He always wore a watch, but it's gone. And look at this case, on the nightstand mahogany, with a deerskin liner. It's empty. A robbery gone wrong? Charlie asked. Or a robbery with a specific target, Sarah countered. The watch wasn't just jewelry. According to his business partner, Veronica, it was a 1966 Canary diving watch. A reproduction, but it held a secret. The search for the watch became a hunt for a hidden fortune. Kaufmann, a man who didn't trust computers, had hidden the 64-digit key to his cryptocurrency, millions, hundreds of millions, inside the casing of that watch. The investigation brought Charlie into the orbit of Captain Michelle Sirocco, a rugged, independent woman who ran the yacht. She was a foil to Sarah's polished intellect, bold, flirtatious, and deeply impressed by Rex's ability to navigate a moving deck. During a break in the case, Michelle cornered Charlie near the bridge. "You're a man of few words, detective. I like that. The dog does most of the talking anyway. You ever think about trading the badge for a life at sea?" Charlie offered a rare, crooked smile. "I think Rex gets seasick after more than an hour. Besides, I have too much keeping me on land." Sarah watched them from the pier, a pang of something she didn't want to label as jealousy tightening her chest. She had known Charlie for years. They had survived shootouts, explosions, and the darkest corners of human nature. Why was it that seeing him talk to a beautiful sea captain felt more threatening than a loaded gun? She walked up to them, her clipboard held like a shield of professional detachment. "Charlie, the lab results are back." The spear was coated in seawater and specific ocean bacteria. Our killer didn't walk onto this boat. They swam from a nearby tour boat owned by a man named Penny. The case ended in a frantic showdown at the marina. Veronica Goodwin, Kaufmann's business partner, had orchestrated the hit, using her knowledge of the crypto key to try and secure her future. She tried to flee, diving into the harbor, but Rex launched himself into the water, a streak of fur and determination, dragging her back to the dock as she clutched the golden watch. That night, after the paperwork was filed, Charlie found Sarah in the lab. The lights were dimmed, the only sound the hum of the centrifuges. "You okay?" he asked softly. "I'm fine," she said, not looking up. Charlie stepped closer, his presence filling the small room. He reached out and gently turned her chair around so she had to look at him. "Sarah, Michelle is a great captain, but she isn't the reason I stay in St. John's." She finally looked up, her eyes soft, searching his. "Charlie, we're a team, Sarah," he whispered. "Always. There's no one else I'd rather have at my back or by my side." Chapter 4. Mother's Ruin. The summer heat began to bake the city, and with it came the bitter, earthy scent of juniper and betrayal. Willem Devereux, the patriarch of the world-famous Devereux Distillery, was found drowned in a vat of his own premium gin. The Devereux family was a nest of vipers, each one more toxic than the last. Alan, the CFO who felt overshadowed, Melanie, the rebel daughter starting her own line, and Jaden, the ambitious son looking to sell to the Japanese. Each had a motive. Each had a secret hidden in the dregs of the family business. "This is about more than gin," Charlie noted as they walked through the distillery's historic, shadow-filled halls. "This is about a legacy that's rotting from the inside." "It's about a new recipe," Sarah added, sniffing a sample. "A secret ingredient that was going to revolutionize the market." Willem called it Willem's Blend. Rex was the one who found the key. In the back of the master distiller's lab, hidden behind a false wall, he sniffed out a small stash of dried, fragrant leaves. Labrador tea, a local botanico that, in high concentrations, was a potent toxin. The drama intensified when Simone Sawyer, a world-renowned and feared spirits critic, was found poisoned in her hotel room. She had been on the take, prepared to give the new gin a glowing review for a price. As they worked the case, Charlie and Sarah found themselves spending late nights at the station, the only ones left in the building. One evening, Sarah brought in a box of pizza and 2 coffees. "Donovan's famous potato salad is a bit much for tonight," she joked, sitting on the edge of his desk. "I thought you might need real fuel." "I'll take the pizza," Charlie said, reaching for a slice. "Thanks, Sarah, for everything." They sat in silence for a while, the city lights twinkling outside the window like fallen stars. "Do you ever think about it, Charlie?" she asked suddenly, her voice barely a whisper. "What happens when the sirens stop? What's the end game for people like us?" Charlie looked at Rex, who was napping at his feet, dreaming of chases he had already won. "I used to think the job was the end game, that catching the bad guy was enough. But lately, I don't know. I think I want something more. Something that doesn't involve a chalk outline or a forensic kit." He looked at her then. Really looked at her. The mask of the detective falling away. Sarah felt her heart hammer against her ribs. This was the moment, the thin, fragile space between words where everything could change. He reached out, his hand hovering near hers. But then the phone rang. A lead on the Devereaux will. The moment vanished, but the warmth remained in his eyes. The killer turned out to be Melanie. She had discovered her father was actually planning to leave the company to her, impressed by her island aesthetics line. But in a moment of blinding rage and long-standing resentment, she had drowned him, thinking he was about to humiliate her one last time. It was a tragedy written in alcohol and blood. Chapter 5: Blood on the Cape. The final test of the season came in the rugged, unforgiving wilderness of Cape Royal. A low-level criminal named Malcolm Carter was executed on a lonely wharf. The only witness was Wyatt Donner, a young man who had fled into the woods to escape the killers. The killers weren't just any thugs. They were the Craners Jason and his son Tyler, a crime family that had haunted Street Johns for 2 decades. "We need that witness." Superintendent Donovan barked in the war room. Charlie, Rex, and Jesse headed into the woods. The terrain was brutal, the weather shifting from sun to freezing rain in minutes. To make matters worse, Jason Craner had hired Serena Rickett, a professional hitwoman from the mainland, to ensure Wyatt never made it to the stand. As they tracked Wyatt through the dense brush, Sarah stayed at the trailhead, managing the comms and the forensics under the flickering lights of a mobile command unit. Her heart was in her throat every time the radio went silent. She knew the Craners were ruthless, and she knew Charlie would put himself in the line of fire to save a witness. In the heart of the forest, a sharp gunshot rang out, echoing off the cliffs. "Charlie!" Sarah screamed into the radio, her professional cool finally shattering. "Charlie, come in!" "Rex." Silence. Only the sound of the wind. Seconds felt like hours. Then, a crackle of static. "You are not okay," she cried, her voice breaking. "Get out of there, Charlie. The tactical team is 5 minutes out. I have to protect the witness," he replied, his voice strained but resolute. "Rex is with me. We've got this." Charlie used every bit of his survival training to lure Serena into a trap. He used Rex to create false trails, moving through the woods like a ghost despite the searing pain in his shoulder. In the end, it was Rex who took her down, leaping through the air like a thunderbolt to disarm her just as she leveled her rifle for a final shot at Charlie. When the helicopters finally arrived and the scene was secured, Sarah was the first one on the ground. She ran to Charlie, ignoring the protocols, ignoring the cameras and the other officers. She threw her arms around him, her face buried in the crook of his neck. "Don't you ever do that to me again," she whispered, her tears wetting his tactical vest. "I can't. I won't do this without you." Charlie held her with his good arm, his hand resting on the back of her head, pulling her closer. "I'm right here, Sarah. I'm not going anywhere. I promise." Epilogue. The harbor light. A week later, the city was quiet. The Craners were behind bars, the Devereaux estate was in probate, and the harbor was calm under a blanket of stars. Charlie sat on his balcony, his arm in a sling but a look of peace on his face. Sarah sat beside him, a bottle of wine open on the table between them. Rex lay at their feet, his paws twitching as he dreamed of tennis balls and justice. You know, Sarah said, looking out at the